All right. We're good, except my mic's not.
Oh, I just turned it off.
Okay. All
right. Your home is your castle. Whether you need a pro or just great advice. Your home with Alex Guthrie.
Welcome to Your Home with Alex Guthrie. Thanks for joining me on another Saturday for a new edition of Your Home. It's a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky. It's blue as the ocean here in Big D. And if you want to join us on Facebook, go to Facebook Live. Go to Facebook Live and key in Your Home with Alex Guthrie. And I got to turn the volume down a little bit here. Here we go. Okay. We're over our technical stuff. It would help if I had plugged in my headset and so I could hear myself. Every day is a precious day. Every morning that we wake up is another gift. Thank you for spending a bit of your time with me. Today's show is going to be awesome. Today we have some really special guests. We have B.A.Norgard. She is a tiny home expert, designer, teacher, a luminary. She is the person to go to if you want to build a tiny home, if you want to start a tiny home community. She is who you want to talk to. Beth-Ann is going to join me in a little bit, along with Terry Lantrip. And Terry is a tiny home village developer. Terry has a development in Lake Dallas, and he has quite possibly the first tiny home development approved in the city limits of any county in the U.S. or any city in the U.S. And that's been a lot of work. That's quite challenging because they don't really like that in cities. They don't look at tiny homes as, yeah, you need to turn that just a little bit. There we go. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay. They don't look at tiny homes as homes in a lot of cities. They look at them as RVs, and they don't like RV parks in cities. And so to get these developments done, to get this development approved, Terry has had to do a lot of work, and it's taken a lot of innovative work on the part of the city and the developer and Beth-Ann. And so it's quite an interesting conversation. Also, we're going to have a call from and discussion with the EarthX folks about their upcoming event. EarthX is the largest Earthday event in the country, maybe in the world, I don't know, says so. And we're going to have a discussion with Ross Mason at the bottom of the hour, and he's going to tell us about all the events. It's right here in Dallas. It starts actually today or yesterday, and it goes through April the 22nd. And it is something. They've got movies all week, and then they have their big events next weekend with all sorts of activities and expos. And it is going to be really a lot of fun. They have a tiny home village, and they have scuba diving. They have all kinds of stuff. It's going to be something to see. It is every year. I've been to it. I love it. We're going to have a discussion with him. And then we've got other things in store, but one of our big things I wanted to talk about today was with my good friend, Mr. Steve Lauten, who's on the line with us right now. And today it's kind of cool. It's amazing that when I get you on the phone or I get you in the studio and I want to talk about hot and humid, and it's supposed to be hot and humid, and it was yesterday. It was like it felt like about 100 degrees. It felt like we were in a furnace room. And today it's 47 degrees. It's the time of year, though, that we need to start doing a little bit of maintenance, getting ready for a hot and humid time of year. So that's when you want to call someone like Steve Lauten with Total Air and Heat and have your air conditioning checked, change your filters, things like that. Good morning, Mr. Lauten.
Good morning, Mr. Guthrie. How are you today?
Man, I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
Shoot, Alex, if I was any better, I'd probably be you.
Well, that's hard to imagine, being me. So here we are in April, and it is supposed to be probably 60, 70, something like that.
No doubt. I mean, we were like pushing 90 on Friday, so yeah, it should be up into the 70s during the daytime.
It should be a lot warmer. It should be really humid, and I think we're probably actually behind on rain. But, you know, that's not unusual for us this time of year. We'll get all of our rain all at once. But at any rate, this is the time of year when we should be kind of getting ready to have to go from heat to cool. And
yes, sir, absolutely. Friday was a good example. Most people were probably running their air conditioning on Friday, yet by Saturday morning, they probably had their heat on. So we'll see a lot of back and forth in April, and typically we'll stabilize out some, and it'll consistently be warmer in May. But air conditioners, furnaces too, for that matter, are like a car in that they need preventative maintenance, and you don't wait until your car is a certain temperature outside before you get the oil changed. The idea is that you get your air conditioner ready before it gets hot, and that's what we can do is we'll check your filters for you. We'll even change them for you if you have them there for no charge while we're doing our tune-up. Air conditioners run a lot of hours in a year. It's equivalent to a car that travels in excess of 50,000 miles. So you wouldn't drive your car without changing the oil 50,000 miles. And we need to be able to get out there and have a look at that. There's a lot of things that the consumers, the homeowners can do themselves. They can change their own filters. You would like to look at the drain pan on your unit if it's up in an attic and see if it's got any signs of water or rust in it, and that might be an indication that your drain lines are clogged or there's some other issue, but you can certainly visually inspect it.
You could go up in your attic and actually look in your drain pan and see if it's holding water, couldn't you?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Or if it's had water in it and it's rusty. I mean, a little bit of rust isn't a big deal. You're going to get a little bit of condensation on the pipes themselves and stuff, but most people would know that if they see a lot of rust in that drain pan, there's something going on that they need to have checked.
Now, you know, I get a couple of calls every year about people that their drain pan has a little drain that goes out through the eave, usually through the eave or somewhere outside, and it's supposed to be put in a place that would be, fairly visible over a window or near a door, something. So when it's flowing, if water's dripping out of it, it's an indication that there's water getting in that pan, and it's probably needs to have some attention. It's an emergency,
yes, sir. You're
right?
Absolutely right.
Right. So if that pan's getting water in it, it's kind of saying, okay, we need maybe some maintenance of some kind. And now occasionally that little pipe gets clogged up and that pan will overflow.
Sure, yeah, absolutely it will. And, the extra fan that you're talking about, Alex, underneath the cooling coil, it's called the emergency drain pan. And it's there for a reason. If your primary coil drain line gets clogged, it's going to overflow. And rather than letting it flow through your ceiling, we like for it to go into a drain pan, and we run that line intentionally, like you mentioned, to an area that's fairly visible so that, you know, it's time to get this looked at. It's not something that you would want to delay having looked at. So many people think it's normal to see water dripping out of that pipe when their air conditioner's running, and it's honestly, it's not. So it's not an emergency, so to speak, as long as the pan's working okay, but get it looked at soon.
It's an indicator. It's an indicator, and it's just sort of, now a lot of times I'll see just driving down the street, or sometimes when I'm looking at a house for somebody, I'll see a big rusty spot, you know, on the side of a house where one of them's been dripping, particularly on a 2-story house. And you'll look up there and you'll see this big, rusty, nasty looking thing on the side of the house. And I know immediately that their emergency drain pan has been leaking at some point. Maybe it's been fixed, or, you know, and that's never, and I'm always, of course, I ask them, have you had that looked at? And sometimes they will go, no, it's working fine.
Yeah. You know, that rust is coming from that galvanized metal pan underneath the coil, and it's not really designed to have water in it all the time. And I've had people that called us up saying their drain pan was leaking, and it was that emergency pan that had had water in it so many times for so long that it rusted through.
Right. So when you start seeing a rust, or you start seeing constant dripping, that's a time to call an AC person and have them come over and figure out why it's doing that. And what would be some of the causes for that to happen?
Well, the filter that you have on your system, whatever that might be, is the first defense, and it's going to collect as much dust as that filter's capable of. But the reality is that whatever dust the filter doesn't catch ends up on the cooling coil, and that cooling coil is wet. And I mean, it's not designed this way, but it kind of acts like an air wash in that, you know, you're removing moisture from the house. The coil's wet, the air's got dust and dirt in it, and it hits that water. It ends up in the drain pan. So the most likely reason for a drain line to get clogged is just going to be accumulation of dirt and dust the filter didn't catch. There's other things that can cause drain pans to have water in them. Another common one is the system is low on refrigerant, and that coil will actually ice up. The coil will turn into a ball of ice, and then you run the risk of water going many places that we didn't want it to. That's just another reason to have your system checked, Alex. Is just because it cools your house doesn't mean that it's cooling your house as efficient as it could. So
it's working too hard. It's working too hard. Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up is that one of the reasons that you want to change your air filter from winter to spring is for that very reason, that you've been running it a lot during the winter, your heat. It's been filtering through that same filter. And so that filter could be clogged up or have a lot of dust in it. And the real work that we put on our systems in this part of the country is in the summertime, right?
Absolutely. It's like the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, in Texas, or especially in the North Texas and South Texas areas, it's an extreme workout. Air conditioners are designed to be able to cool the house up to 102 degrees outside.
And they'll run sometimes 24 hours a day, depending on how efficient it is. Can you hang on with us for just a couple of minutes while we take a break? I've got a couple more things. Thank you. You're listening to Your Home with Alex Guthrie right here on KBDT 1160. We're going to take a quick break. More with Steve Lauten and a little AC maintenance when we come back. Stay tuned. Alex Guthrie here for my friends at Total Air and Heat. Did you know a typical AC unit runs enough hours in a year equal to a car running 60,000 miles? Total Air and Heat recommends that you tune your system and have it safety checked every 6 months to ensure peak efficiency, proper operation, and increase the life of the system. Need a new air conditioning and heating system? No problem. Total Air and Heat can replace your equipment with the best equipment on the market today. Train. And you know it's hard to stop a train. So for the best heating and air conditioning contractors in North Dallas and Plano for the past 60 years, call my friends at Total Air and Heat, 972-881-0020. That's 972-881-0020. Or visit them online at totalair.com. Total Air and Heat.
1160 AM KBDT proudly presents this historic salute to Grapevine, Texas. Brought to you by the Spice and Tea Exchange at 319 South Main Street. In mid-November of 1845, settlers from Missouri, the Archibald Leonard family, B.J. and Hiram Crowley, Ambrose Foster, and the family of Judge Jacob Moorhead settled near Lonesome Dove. 2 years later, the Lonesome Dove Baptist Church was established south of Judge Moorhead's place near Grapevine.
I'm Nancy McBrayer for the Spice and Tea Exchange. We started in Fort Worth and just really loved the Grapevine area. We wanted to capture the folks that were from Dallas that came to the stockyards that said, oh, this is so far for us. And Grapevine is such a beautiful area. We decided that that was a perfect place for our second location.
Grapevine, Texas, a world festival and event city. Find out more about Grapevine by going to www.grapevinetexas.gov.
I'm Nancy McBrayer for the Spice and Tea Exchange.
Step back in time. Visit historic Grapevine, Texas today.
Some people think the only thing worse than calling the dentist is calling the foundation repairman. That's why I recommend Hargrave Foundation Repair. Cracks in the walls, doors that won't close? Give the folks at Hargrave Foundation a call. Now, sometimes it's not the foundation at all. That's why you need an honest, proven company. You see, understanding the soils and weather is a must for a lifetime repair. Family owned and operated since 1968, Hargrave has seen it all. Hargrave Foundation Repair is fully licensed and insured, and their staff stays up to date on all the latest techniques and advances. So call one of the last independently owned foundation companies in North Texas and the exclusive installer of the Chance helical pier system. Call Hargrave Foundation Repair at 972-442-3415. That's 972-442-3415. Hargrave Foundation Repair, 972-442-3415. Welcome back to Your Home with Alex Guthrie. Hey, after the bottom of the hour, we're going to be here with Ross Mason of Earthday. We're going to have an interview. We're going to talk about the Earthday event that's coming up. It's actually already here. We're going to go over all kinds of stuff they're doing. It is a huge event, so stay tuned after this segment. But right now, we're talking to our very good friend, Mr. Steve Lauten with Total Air and Heat, and we're talking about things that we need to be getting ready for this time of year with our air conditioning. And essentially, what I was really after was that after we go from winter to summer, you know, we click on, because it's gone from hot to cold and hot to cold, and we're going from heater to AC. And there's also settings on there that will automatically go from heat to AC. We don't really think about it, right? You just kind of
that's true.
You just turn it on. You know, like my wife, it's
automatic.
Like, yeah, she's like, well, just set it on that automatic setting. So I don't ever think about it, and then you don't think about it until like June, and she's like, there's water coming through the ceiling.
Yep. Happens all the time.
I didn't think about it, changing the filter either, because it was just running. And maybe we should have called Steve and had a little maintenance done on this thing. But there's not only the interior part, there's the exterior part, there's the compressor. And that sucker takes a pounding all year round. And, you know, they put those things on top of roofs. They put them under trees. They put them where the sun shines on them all the time. They act like they're tanks. They act like they're indestructible. Are they?
Well, they're not indestructible, but most of them hold up pretty good if you consider how we would hold up if we stood on the west side of the house all day long in the summertime. They're not too bad, but they do require maintenance. And the easiest way I can explain this to the listeners is there is no such thing as cold. There's only it's a word. And that word is describing cold is describing absence of heat. So whatever heat you have in your home, we're moving through the indoor part of the system and that cooling coil to the outdoor unit. And that's why when you put your hand on top of the unit in the summertime, it's blowing out a lot hotter air than what the outdoor temperature is. It's rejecting the heat from your home. For it to do that efficiently, that coil on the outdoor unit has got to be clean because it's absorbing the cooler air from outside and in the process it's taking the heat out of the refrigerant from indoor in the house and projecting it outdoors. So if you feel handy, make sure, absolutely certain, you turn the power off to the outdoor unit. But you can, if you want to, wash the coils yourself. Many units are what we call a two-row coil. So basically, that's two sections of coil in front of each other. So many times, even though you're washing it, you're not getting out that
you can't get to the back.
knitted.
Yeah, you can't get to the back row of coils. Well, let me ask you this. There's a lot of company, or a company, I don't know how many there are, I see them all the time, advertising a mister that will mist the coil system to keep it cooler. Now, does that have an adverse effect on that equipment?
Well, absolutely, from a couple of aspects. First of all, unless you're using distilled water that doesn't have minerals in it, you don't want to spray city water on a condenser coil because it's got a lot of calcium in it and other minerals. It's just going to build up on the coil in the outdoor unit, and it could actually deteriorate the fins on the unit. So I've never been a proponent of that. There's no question that if you have a unit that's struggling and you can't get service for a while, that spraying some water on the unit will certainly help the unit get by until you can get service. But I don't recommend spraying water on an outdoor unit. The other thing is by spraying that water on there, it can cause the fins to separate from the tubes that go through the condenser coil. The tubes is what's got the refrigerant in it, and those aluminum fins are what's transferring the heat out of the refrigerant into the air. So don't spray water on them unless you're just cleaning it. Then, yeah, that's fine.
So how big a problem are ants and other things like that? Is that a huge problem with these coil units?
It sure is, Alex. In fact, back when they were building the superconducting super collider, that was a huge concern because ants are attracted to the noise, and electricity does have a noise that what they call 60 cycles or 60 hertz, and it's a natural attraction. Also, your compressor has what we call a crankcase heater on it on that outdoor unit, so it's warm. Well, if I was building my house outdoors, I wouldn't mind building mine next to a warm spot. Would you?
Hey, thanks so much for joining us today, buddy. We appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
We appreciate all the advice, and we appreciate you. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and tell everybody how to get in touch with you real quick.
Yeah, you can either reach us at 972-881-0020 or www.totalair.com.
You're an awesome guy. Have a wonderful weekend, and thanks a bunch.
Thank you, Alex. Take care. Bye.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more of Your Home with Alex Guthrie.
Travel with us. Call 800-547-6018. 800-547-6018. 800-547-6018.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
800-871-3291. 800-871-3291. Again, that's 800-871-3291.
This is Bristol. Let's get ready to rumble.
It's the Food City 500.
Kyle Larson types the bottom of the racetrack, forces Austin Dillon up a groove. They're side by side in two.
Here's Larson powering out of turn 4 on the outside. Can't do it. Truex will lead that lap.
Jimmy Johnson just blasts off of turn 2 and takes that lead away.
The Food City 500, Sunday, April 15th at 12 noon.
It's the Food City 500 live from Bristol tomorrow on 1160 AM KBDT.
With the introduction of digital TV, it's more important than ever to make the best decisions when disposing of your old electronics and your televisions, too. Television and electronic recycling is easy and good for the environment. So if you can't reuse your old TV, then recycle it. Simply drop off your television along with any other electronics at a convenient electronic recycling event. Every first, second, and third Saturday, an event is held in Plano. Find resources and information to learn green, live green, and save a little green, all at the click of a mouse. LiveGreenInPlano.com.
Welcome back to Your Home with Alex Guthrie. You have a very special guest on the phone with us, Mr. Ross Mason.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great.
It is a beautiful day to be talking about a very awesome event that you guys are holding in Dallas. Is it the world's largest Earthday event, or do we still call it Earthday?
Well, we absolutely refer to it as Earthday, but it is the world's largest event focused on the environment. But it's an exposition, it's a conference, it's a 2-week film festival. It's massive, like most things in Texas.
Well, it is, because I'll tell you, I did some research on it, and I was absolutely amazed at all the things that you guys have going on. And it's almost hard to know where to start, except that it already started. It started yesterday with your film. What do you call it? You just have a ton of movies. It's the EarthX film.
It's a film festival, and one of the things that we've learned is that film can bring together a lot of people emotionally. It's got a lot of power, a lot of emerging media to focus awareness on the kinds of issues and opportunities and changes that are happening globally for the environment. And yes, we kicked it off at the Angelica Theater last night with 2 previews, one of which was The Human Element, produced by the same man that produced Chasing Ice. And it was just awesome, talking about a lot of the changes that are occurring and evidenced by how many changes we see happening with weather patterns, with fire, and a lot of these things coming together. So it's a very emotional way to get the whole thing kicked off.
And you have basically, how many movies do you have? There's a lot of them, and it's happening basically every day this week.
Oh yeah. It continues as we're speaking right now. The film festival goes on for 2 weeks. all the way, beginning last night and through our event at the end of the weekend, next weekend. There'll be over 60 films premiered.
Basically at all different venues all over town, correct?
Yes, that's right. It's at Angelica. We're at the Texas Theater, the Dallas Comedy House, the Dallas Arts District, the Wiley Theater, Dallas Farmers Market. We'll have a preview there on Wednesday, combined, with an opportunity for, enjoying some great meals.
So I really wanted to talk about some of the highlights of the expo. You have all sorts of, your expo is actually the last, 3 days of this?
That's right. It kicks off next Friday morning, April the 20th at Fair Park. And we'll have nearly 1,000 booths illustrated, from all kinds of different industry segments. One of the things that I think our founder, Trammell Crow, had a great vision for, he actually took over this event from the city of Dallas in 2011 and, very much focused on it being Earthday Dallas. And as it's grown, over the last number of years, it's become Earthday Texas. And then this past year, we rebranded to be EarthX because we've really got worldwide representation and we have people coming from around the world to participate. And the expo will be an amazing part of the whole event. We've got nearly 500,000 square feet of, exhibit space, indoor and outdoor, and there are all kinds of activations taking place. We've got, products and companies represented from all kinds of different industries, from consumer products to the built environment. Many different cities from around Texas and the country are representing what they're doing in terms of sustainability. But we have health, we have home and garden, we have land conservation, ocean, policymakers from the government will be representing things that they're focused on with the environment. So we really believe that it's by, not just government action, but probably more importantly, ultimately, we believe that business can have a huge part in changes that are positively taking place for the environment. And ultimately, we believe that, as attendees, consumers that come out and they learn more about what companies are doing and offering in terms of sustainable strategies, will ultimately put their money, where the ideas are and encourage that kind of change. So it's no longer just, from a policy standpoint, trying to do the right thing for the environment, but ultimately there's a lot of opportunity for business to be focused on new solutions that are more sustainable.
So in the towns and of course the part of the world that I'm most involved in most of the time is the building industry. And a lot of what we have focused on the last few years has been energy efficiency and sustainability and waste, how to limit waste and recycling and things like that. But there's a lot more to it than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it has to do with, not only how companies are changing the way that they do business, their operations, their materials, their delivery, but as consumers and the homes that we live in and the products that we buy and the things that we're using and the way that we operate our households can all have a huge contribution to positive change for the environment. We've got a whole series of simple truths about the environment on our website. And one simple truth is that buildings contribute our buildings, that we work in or that we live in contribute to an estimated 1/3 of the greenhouse gas emissions on the planet.
Wow.
And so by better focusing on, how buildings are more efficient and how our homes are run more efficiently and the things that make up those homes, we can have a huge impact on that overall carbon footprint by the way that we live.
And so when we're talking about that simple statistic that you just mentioned, we're not talking about just what comes out of the building envelope. We're talking about the energy it takes to produce the energy that building uses and the material that you're using to produce the energy.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So we're talking about the whole chain.
Absolutely. And so, we're very excited that at our expo, we've got an entire category focused on the built environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so companies like Associa, like Dyson Professional, like Sloan Rainwater Management Solutions, Daylight Rangers, ASEC Building Products, EnergyWise, Leaf Filter, they'll all be there representing new technology advances that improve that overall efficiency.
So one of the things that I picked up on when I was going through your through the information that you sent me and looking at your website were some of the speakers that you had, and one of the things that I really locked onto was that you have Buzz Aldrin.
Oh yeah,
he's one of my childhood heroes, because that's of course how old I am, but there's a lot of people that can really relate to Buzz Aldrin as the astronaut. He's one of the first 2 Americans to set foot on the moon, and for a lot of people, a lot of younger people, they don't really understand that. But I would imagine that if you were an astronaut and you looked at, when was that? What year was that? That was in the 60s?
Yeah, it was in the early 60s.
Early 60s. So if you looked at the Earth, if you got to look at the Earth back then from the moon, and you looked at it now from the moon, I would imagine that's a completely different picture because of the air pollution and the conditions that have changed because of the conditions we've caused. And I imagine he's got a whole lot to say about that.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's got a unique perspective of having that, visual that, we can only appreciate from the pictures.
Now, you have also scuba diving. You have a scuba diving expo. How are you going to do that?
Well, that's one of the unique things is that children or really anyone that's never had the opportunity to go to the ocean can actually scuba dive at Fair Park. And we've got, amazing opportunities where people can participate in activations like that. Everything from, all kinds of different activities outdoors, physical fitness. We've got a whole goat yoga opportunity for people to be active, and there'll be all kinds of different cycling opportunities at Fair Park for being very active when you're outdoors. So people will be able to move indoor through all of the exhibits and then go enjoy some physical fitness or food outdoors.
Eliminating single-use plastic straws challenge for high school students. Can you tell me about that one?
Oh, sure. Well, that's one of our big passions. We recently read about a whale that washed up on the shore of the Spain coastline, and they found over 60 pounds of plastic products that had been consumed by that whale and unfortunately killed the whale.
Oh.
So plastic use is unfortunately ending up in our oceans and having an enormous impact on our overall ecosystem and all of the ocean creatures, and it's just very, very sad. So the good news is the positive thing that we can do is to focus on not using plastic and to using, all kinds of different alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
So, our Earthday film group has a contest that they are inspiring young producers, young videographers to submit in their contest their approach to and their way of looking at how we can use other products and not use plastic. And so straws is a huge impact, and everyone can have an impact on that by when they go to the restaurant asking their servers not to serve them plastic.
And it's something that is such a small thing in our lives. We don't realize, we don't think it has much of an impact. We don't look at that and go, well, that's going to have much of an impact. It's just one little straw that I'm using.
Well, it does have a huge impact, and being from this area, you can appreciate it if you've ever been around White Rock Lake after a major rain.
Right.
Unfortunately, people throw these things away and they wash up on the shore. Mm-hmm. So you can only imagine how it affects the wildlife.
Well, and really just go to any of our lakes, as all of our lakes are man-made. And so after any storm where the streams have overflowed into them, and if you go along the shore of the stream, and I'm a kayaker, I like to go out of my kayak and I fish, and I really love going up in these streams and looking at the wildlife. It's something that really gives me a lot of peace. And the one thing that makes me crazier than anything is all of the things that are washing in to those creeks, and it just makes me nuts. And it's hard to blame people, other than I know we're conditioned to do this. This is what we've been given, and we have to learn to recondition ourselves. And I see it in some ways. We're being encouraged to use paper sacks instead of plastic.
That's right.
Give us some more real quick. How do we get to your event? What does it cost? How do we get information about it?
Well, the expo, kicks off, as we mentioned, next Friday, but there's a set of conference going on. Our website is earthday.org. You can download an app, our mobile app, at earthday.org/mobile, and be able to get into the park for free. We are charging admission for $5. But we're basically giving everybody an opportunity to get in for free. There are conferences that run throughout the week. You mentioned speakers. We've got over 400 different speakers.
I got to jump. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. We'll be right back. So every time you look out your windows, the world looks a little foggy. Does it sound like the crickets are in the house? You need to keep the outside out and the inside in. Alex Guthrie here for my friends Window Traditions, where I buy Sierra Pacific windows. You want a fully transferable glass warranty? Sierra Pacific Windows has it. You want the highest quality sun protection? Sierra Pacific Windows offers it. Family owned for 4 generations, Sierra Pacific Windows is here to stay. And not just anybody gets my business when it comes to windows and doors. That's why I call Window Traditions for sales and installation. 214-357-3100. That's 214-357-3100. Sierra Pacific Windows and Window Traditions. 214-357-3100. Or visit their website at wtraditions.com for the very best view of the Lone Star State.
1160 AM, KBDT proudly presents this historic salute to Grapevine, Texas. Brought to you by Grapevine Antique Market. In 1866, the Grapevine Masonic Lodges organized. J.W. Dunn is the first worshipful master. In 1867, they decided to build a school. Pine lumber is hauled by ox teams over 150 miles from the mills in East Texas. School begins in September of 1869. Colonel W.P. Bishop is principal. The school remains open until 1886.
Hi, I'm Brandon Cantrell with Grapevine Antique Market. We sell vintage items, antiques, and a lot of current decorative items. Very cool. My husband lived here when I got married 33 years ago. It's a small town feeling, although it's not that small anymore. I've just gotten to know Grapevine, and I have lots of friends here, and I like it.
Grapevine, Texas, a world festival and event city. Find out more about Grapevine by going to www.grapevinetexas.gov. Step back in time. Visit historic Grapevine, Texas today.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I'm 75 years old, and I don't eat enough vegetables or fruit. And this is a great thing to do. And it seems that I have more energy. It seems that I take that, and I take a lot of blood pressure pills and what do you call it, cholesterol. But my doctor tells me, he said, no, you might cut the dosage down on your pills, because what are you taking? I said, Balance of Nature. He said he didn't know what it was. So I told him, I said, it's fruits and vegetables condensed into little pill form. He goes, well, whatever it is, it's doing you a lot of good.
Good health is only a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Don't miss your opportunity to get a free month supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code USA.
Welcome back to Your Home with Alex Guthrie. That was interesting. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to go to Earthday. I like to go every year. It's really fun. I got a couple of emails, and I actually did a little research on one of them because I've been asked this question for years, and I actually had an opinion until I asked an expert, and I just didn't agree with him, which isn't unusual. So I did more research, and it ends up he was right. And here's the question. And this is from Connie and Pete. They sent me an email asking, should electrical receptacles be installed with the hole up or down? So what they meant by that is, your electrical plugs have 3 prongs. One of them is round and the other 2 are slotted. And sometimes when the electrician puts them in, the round part's down and sometimes the round part's up. And so I, for years, have always seen the round part down. And that's how I thought they were supposed to go. And that was cool. I didn't care. And then I went in a house and the electrician put all the plugs in with the round part up. And I thought had lost his, I thought, well, maybe the guy just doesn't know what he's doing because it just looked odd. And I got upset because I'm a contractor and I know all when it comes to that stuff. So I called another electrician and I asked him, and he said, oh, well, that round part can go, it doesn't matter. The ground can go up. It doesn't matter. But I still didn't like it because it looked weird to me. It looked like there was a smiley face on the wall. So I looked it up, and here's what Ben Giles, or Giles, I'm not sure how he pronounces it. He's a licensed electrician from Rhode Island. So he's in another part of the country from where I am. So we'll just see what he says. He says, orienting receptacles a certain way seems like one of those things that folks get in the habit of doing. So that's kind of what I was saying. I was in the habit of seeing them a certain way because their boss told them to do it that way. I've heard of electricians who install receptacles with the ground up so that if the plug isn't fully engaged, the receptacle or something made of metal falls on the exposed male blades. The metal will hit the ground instead of bridging across, blah, blah, blah. He's just saying if something falls on it, it won't short it out. And the electrician I talked to had a similar thought. And I thought that was kind of hokey because how often does that really happen? It doesn't. Says even if the above events were more likely the properly sized arc fault breakers. Now, they changed the electrical code, and you have to have an arc fault breaker, which is an extra breaker in your panel in virtually all houses now, so that if anything causes a spark in your outlet, it throws the breaker in the panel and sort of eliminates any potential electrical short. Kind of ends all that. The bottom line is, the conclusion is, it doesn't matter. You can have them either way. Just pick a way you like to see them. Up, down, it doesn't matter. I'll have another email. How much time we got, Phil? We got we got just about enough time for one more. And this one, I've got a real good answer to. Your advice on cleaning vinyl siding. This is from Johnny and Linda. Vinyl siding, although not the most popular thing in my part of the world, there is plenty of it. And I found a product because I have a trailer that I use occasionally on weekends that has a vinyl siding on it that gets pretty kind of tarnished looking just from dust and get moisture, and it kind of gets stuff growing on it. And it's kind of hard to clean. It can be hard to clean, and you don't always want to take a power washer and power wash it. And so I tried, and I finally found a solution. I actually found it on YouTube. Now, I looked this one up as well, and there was a cleaning, all sorts of, this person had all sorts of solutions with all sorts of different mixtures of soaps and soft scrub and all these kind of things to cleaning it. Well, I've got the solution. It's easy and cheap. It is called LA's Awesome, Amazing Awesome. And I found this on YouTube. And this is folks, write this down, keep it. Once you use it, you'll never use anything else. This stuff cleans everything. This is all, I think it's all natural. I'm not sure you want to drink it. You mix this stuff, use a soft bristle, dilute it with water, put it on that vinyl siding or even aluminum, brush it on there, rinse it off. It will clean it. I use it on all kinds of stuff. It can't hurt anything. It's safe for the environment. It is made in California, so you know it's safe. Try Amazing Awesome. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have B.A.Norgard, the tiny house lady. We'll be right back.
Scientists have debated this for years. Luckily, there's a new solution to satisfy everyone. It's called Krill Omega 50 Plus. It combines ultra-pure fish oil and joint-soothing krill oil together in just one tiny pill. It's so powerful, it can promote the health of your heart and your arteries. And if that wasn't enough, it can also boost your joint comfort in just days. We're so sure Krill Omega 50 Plus will work for you. We'll even send you a free bottle to put to the test. The debate is over. It's not fish oil or krill oil. It's both. And now it's free. Just pay $4.95 for shipping and claim your free bottle. Call now. 1-800-399-6392.
Your home is your castle, whether you need a pro or just great advice. Your Home with Alex Guthrie.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Your Home with Alex Guthrie. I'm joined by 2 fabulous people that do very large things with very small things, tiny things that they do big things with. Please welcome B.A.Norgard and Terry Lantrip. And B.A. has an amazing story to go along with, a huge story to go along with her tiny things that she does in her world. And you are an expert in I don't want to say proponent's not big enough. What's the right word? You are sort of you're an entrepreneur, right? You're a spokesperson. You're you love tiny homes.
I'm an advocate.
an advocate.
Good morning.
You're good morning. I'm sorry. Welcome. How are you?
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Good. Let me get you right up here so I can hear you. And so you do tiny homes. You built your own tiny home.
I did. I had a lot of help from friends on weekends,
Yeah.
but I did. Yeah. There's something remarkable about pulling up in the driveway and looking at a house that you built yourself.
There is, isn't there?
Yeah.
There is.
Cool.
So how did you tell me what got you to a point where you decided you wanted to build your own tiny home? Where were you at?
I was downtown Dallas in a big high-rise where I had been for 20 years doing the 9 to 5. I had a home in Dallas that I owned in a conservation district, mowing my lawn every Saturday, paying my mortgage every month. I had one of those traditional 9 to 5 lives.
Did you have a white picket fence around it?
I did not. I had a kind of a cool, different kind of fence around it, but I had a fence, yes.
Okay.
And I kind of ended up at a crossroads. The attorney that I had been working for 20 years was talking about retirement, and I didn't want to start over as the new kid at a different law firm. And also the yard that I had just poured my heart and soul into was hit by a big epic hailstorm and mowed everything down to about 2 inches high.
Oh.
And those two things happened kind of at the same time, and it nudged me to just really examine my world and my routine and say, is this what I want to be doing? And so I signed up with a career transition coach in Garland, Helen Harkness of Career Design Associates, and for 9 months of Saturdays, I studied me.
Really?
To see what made me happy and what made me tick and what I wanted to do for the second half of my life. And after a lot of soul searching and a lot of hard work, tiny houses surfaced as both a new career and a lifestyle.
That just seems like that must have taken a whole lot of work to get to. It seems to me that getting to tiny houses, how do you go from high rise or to tiny houses?
I know. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. And I loved my job. I did. It served me very well for those 20 years. And I'm actually kind of putting my toe back in the water.
Are you?
With it a little bit. I'm doing a little contract paralegal work for the first time in a few years. But it's a whole new world. I'm making a fraction of the salary that I made before, but I'm super happy. I'm fulfilled.
There's something about being happy.
It's different. It's apples and oranges, but it's been a great adventure full of a lot of synchronicities.
Now, how long is this journey? How long have you been on this journey?
I signed up with the career coach in February of 12. By August, I had chosen tiny houses. In October, I put my house on the market, and it sold in less than 24 hours for full list price cash.
Wow.
And I had an estate sale and sold everything I owned in November. Leased a little apartment for 6 months. Went to a first tiny house workshop in February of 13. Started construction in May of 13. Moved into my house in April of 14 and began traveling. And I've now traveled about 11,000 miles in it, not as many as several other people who are on the road in their tiny houses, and now am parked back in Garland.
11,000 miles. And I've been to your house.
Yes, you have.
And I have to tell you that Terry's furniture is kind of a beanbag chair, other than the bed.
Love sack.
A love sack.
It was a love sack.
A love sack. And that is minimalistic living.
Yes.
In my view.
It's pretty minimal.
It's pretty minimal.
Pretty minimal, but it makes me so happy.
But it was very comfortable.
There's usually two in there. We have one of them out right now.
And I was telling you that it took me back to a time in my life, the whole, not the size of the house or anything, but the feeling. It took me back to a time in my life when I, was young and life was simple.
Yes.
And things,
that's the goal.
Yeah. Things were, you just didn't really, the one thing you didn't have a care about was your accommodations, because it was just simple. The smell, the feeling, the whole kind of attitude was nice. I really, really, really loved it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really did appreciate it. And so you have become you talk to people about this. You address groups. You really are a proponent of tiny homes.
I try to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so also, if people are trying to get a development, you'll go address the city council maybe, or the P&Z or whoever. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I get invitations from usually in clusters. If one city has heard that I've gone and talked to the Planning and Zoning Commission to just educate them about tiny houses and the movement and what's coming, then often the adjacent areas call me and say, hey, I heard you spoke over there. Can you come and talk to us and just show us some pretty pictures and tell us what's it all about?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening out there that we don't know about?
Mm-hmm.
So I do that, and I do quite a few schools, and surprisingly public libraries really enjoy, and those librarians are networked. If you are at one library, you get invitations to about 10 more. It's really
That's
fun.
Interesting.
It's really fun.
Yeah. So is there a common denominator of people of interest? I mean, is there an age group or a certain type of people that are of not, I don't mean interest, I said the wrong word, that receive this better? In other words, or is there an age bracket of people on the city council that would be more receptive than, say, an older group that might say, oh, no, it doesn't have brick?
I don't think it has to do with age. I think it's mindset. Whether or not you're open to new and innovative ideas, whether or not you're willing to take a risk and be vulnerable and try to do something that someone else hasn't done yet. Are you willing to be a risk taker and see if it will be successful?
Right.
I think it's more that than it is an age.
And so you go through and I have to tell you, tiny homes, I went into this when we first started talking a few weeks ago, and I decided to embark on this whole thing. I thought, well, I'd be able to relate to this because I've been in an RV. You know, I've spent tons of time in an RV, so I get the tiny home thing. Because tiny home and an RV are not the same thing. An RV is what it is. It's a recreational vehicle. It's something you pull behind your car, and it's full of a couch, and it's got recliners, and it's got all the amenities of a house. It's bigger than yours. Now, I haven't seen all the tiny homes, so I'm no expert on size or anything, but it's the tiny homes I have seen, and I've done a lot of research on the internet, and of course I've been to yours. They're homes. They've got a metal roof, and they've got siding.
The aesthetic is different.
The aesthetics.
I think that there are a lot of overlaps in the lifestyle,
mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of overlaps in the demographics of people that enjoy tiny houses and enjoy RVs. So, I mean, they're not completely different. They do have some commonalities in there, but the aesthetics and the building materials are certainly vastly different.
And you build your own.
Yes.
I mean,
custom homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there are you can't call them RVs. There are tiny homes builders.
Yes.
That are they're totally different than an RV, and they're more tiny home, and they're really nice, and they come with granite countertops and all the I know people that have them, and I've been in them, and I love them. They're really, really comfortable, and they're full-time homes that people live in, and there's parks around here. And so that leads me to Terry Landtrip. And you are a developer, and you have a development in Lake Dallas, and what's it called?
Lake Dallas Tiny Home Village.
Lake Dallas Tiny Home Village. And you just posted a banner on Facebook the other day. Is this a
logo?
Is this your first logo? Is this is this a milestone for you?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And we had Richard Ward, who is a tiny home person, design it.
Yay, Richard.
So, yeah, Richard did
I love Richard Ward.
He did a really good job, and it's gone over very well.
Uh-huh. So you have a real adventure getting from A to wherever you are now to get this thing developed. And you and I met out at your development at your lot. But it's more than a lot, because when I talk to you, it's like, oh, Alex, it's just a lot. It's just got grass on it. And I went out there, and it's like, no, you've got like a neighborhood, bud. You've got the corner, and you've got it's big. It's going to be nice.
It's a cool place. It's a very cool place. Yeah. We have an acre of land, and most of it is just empty. It was a farmland, and it has a farmhouse on it. Now, phase 1 is just getting 13 homes on the property and getting all that developed. Phase 2 is to take that farmhouse and turn it into an amenity center, a meeting center, a place for people to hang out. So, but there's no timeline on that. Let's just get through what we're doing today. Yeah, we've come a long way from the beginning, which was probably about 2016 to now, but we've still got a long way to go to get through the city.
But this is part of a lot of the changes that the development industry, I guess you would call it, has been going through. And I know that I've dealt with it, and you and I talked about this earlier in the week. When we've talked about materials changes that we've used just in housing, and I've had to go before planning and zoning commissions, and the builders have, for things like hardy siding, things that they were saying, no, it's got to be cementatious finish, and we go, well, it is siding, but it's actually cement siding, and these are the things that you're having to tackle with these folks as well, and they're being real receptive to it and working with you when you're saying, well, they're putting cedar on it or whatever it is. Right. So tell us a little bit about those challenges and how it seems like they've been pretty willing to work with you. Right. And that's hard to do for most cities.
From the start, we have a council that's made up of mostly younger people, probably in their 30s or 40s, and they realize that Lake Dallas needs some kind of a boost. We've lost out on a lot of development. We just haven't developed our downtown area like every other city around us. So they thought that doing a tiny home community, even a small one like what we're doing, would give Lake Dallas the boost and notoriety that it needs. So they've been pretty open to work with me on tackling this, and it's a whole new area for us. So it's been a step-by-step process.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more tiny homes, big ideas, and what's coming up down the road with tiny homes with my very special guest, B.A.Norgard, Terry Landtrip. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Alex Guthrie here for my friends at Total Air and Heat. Did you know a typical AC unit runs enough hours in a year equal to a car running 60,000 miles? Total Air and Heat recommends that you tune your system and have it safety checked every 6 months to ensure peak efficiency, proper operation, and increase the life of the system. Need a new air conditioning and heating system? No problem. Total Air and Heat can replace your equipment with the best equipment on the market today. Train. And you know it's hard to stop a train. So for the best heating and air conditioning contractors in North Dallas and Plano for the past 60 years, call my friends at Total Air and Heat, 972-881-0020. That's 972-881-0020. Or visit them online at totalair.com. Total Air and Heat.
1160 AM KBDT proudly presents this historic salute to Grapevine, Texas. Brought to you by Underwood Boot Company, 530 South Main Street. 1854 saw Grapevine's first genuine civic controversy. The postal route was being established. The town needed an official name. Leonard was considered, named after A.F. Leonard, who served as the postmaster, justice of the peace, and the county representative in the 12th Texas legislature. When Judge Moorhead was asked, he said, Grapevine would be a good name for our town. And it still is.
I'm Anthony Underwood Boot Company. We got a lot of tourists, a lot of local business, a lot of foot traffic. Boots are custom. They're top notch. We make everything here. Jose, my bootmaker's been doing it over 50 years. We put out a very high quality product.
Grapevine, Texas, a world festival and event city. Find out more about Grapevine by going to www.grapevinetexas.gov.
With this salute to historic Grapevine, I'm Anthony Underwood Boot Company.
Step back in time. Visit historic Grapevine, Texas today.
Some people think the only thing worse than calling the dentist is calling the foundation repairman. That's why I recommend Hargrave Foundation Repair. Cracks in the walls, doors that won't close, give the folks at Hargrave Foundation a call. Now, sometimes it's not the foundation at all. That's why you need an honest, proven company. You see, understanding the soils and weather is a must for a lifetime repair. Family owned and operated since 1968, Hargrave has seen it all. Hargrave Foundation Repair is fully licensed and insured, and their staff stays up to date on all the latest techniques and advances. So call one of the last independently owned foundation companies in North Texas and the exclusive installer of the Chance helical pier system. Call Hargrave Foundation Repair at 972-442-3415. That's 972-442-3415. Hargrave Foundation Repair, 972-442-3415. Welcome back to Your Home with Alex Guthrie. We're talking tiny houses. We're talking big developments with tiny houses. So I guess when you live in a tiny house, you've got a tiny lot.
Right.
And you're going to have a community center. And you were telling me about some other amenities you were going to have on your development.
Well, each lot is about 800 square feet. We have some that are 900. So we can accommodate anything from a small tiny home, like 12 to 20 feet, all the way up to 40 feet. The amenities on the property, we're going to have the backyard of the farmhouse is just beautiful.
So you've got an existing farmhouse that you're going to use. You're going to leave it there because it's very cool looking.
It's a very neat old structure. We have a washateria that we're going to be building, a good sized washateria. And also we have a garden going in, a community garden. Now, most people, they're probably going to be gardening on their lots.
So they've got enough room for that typically.
Right. The lot size, a tiny home's only going to fill about 40% of that lot. So they're going to have a lot of room on their lots themselves. Mm-hmm. And then there'll be a community garden as well. So
let's talk about a typical tiny home and the size of one and how big is yours is like on a 18 foot?
Ours is on a 16-foot trailer.
16 foot.
So we are 78 square feet.
So you're less than 100 square feet.
Yes, our interior is 6 by 13, and then we have a porch. So that's a portion of our trailer is the porch space.
Man.
It's small.
And you have a dog.
And I have a husband.
A husband and a dog.
So it turns out that the best way to find your life mate is to build a house that holds one person. Because that's when he's going to show up, is after you have built that and planned how things are going to be.
And that's when you find out, that's when you really find out if you're compatible.
Yes.
I mean, there's no questions.
We are planning a larger one. Obviously, the house that we're in is a house for one. And we're making it work fine. But
the house you're in is a house for one small one.
I don't know. My front door is a weight management plan because it is smaller than normal door. But yeah.
I love your house. I'm not trying to criticize your house.
It's all good.
It's
It's too small for most people.
It's tiny.
Most people say,
It's real.
I could not do this, but
it's a definition of the tiny house.
I built it for travel. I knew I wanted to travel.
It's cool. It's cool.
It's very cool.
So when you pull it behind your truck, how does it feel? I mean, it like if you're pulling it on a windy day like yesterday, would you pull it on a day like that, or would you just
try
park
not
it?
to. I would try not to. In fact, I was saying a silent prayer of thanks this morning on the way to the studio that today was not move-in day for Earthday, that I was not going to have homes coming from all directions in the winds that were today, because it is a challenge and it's hard on your house as well. So, but my house tows like a dream. It's very sturdy. Weighs 9,300 pounds, and it's just a nice, easy tow. Often on long trips, I forget that it's behind me, which I'm sure sounds odd, but
could be a problem.
It could be.
Oops, I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't realize you were there.
God, I had my house behind me.
So you're you kind of like you told me you were sort of a snowbird here right now. You kind of like to come down and enjoy the mild winters and maybe go up north and get away from the unbelievably hot summers.
Yes, I have been doing travel in my house since August of 14, and mostly following good weather. And then I had a little hiatus with that where I was in Minnesota for a couple of years taking care of my folks, and that's where John and I reconnected from Minnesota. And so now we are trying to summer in Minnesota or the Pacific Northwest, or a combination thereof, and winter here in Dallas.
Perfect.
It seems perfect. So if we can figure out the employment piece of that, we'll really be golden.
Well, one of you stays.
Wait a minute now. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
You just haven't been married long enough. It'll work sooner or later. It works for most of us after about 20 years. Why don't you just stay on the West Coast? No, I love that idea. And so you're thinking about so you're going to build yourself a larger tiny home. So you're thinking permanent tiny home.
So I didn't ever really think about permanent until both of my parents died last year. And it sort of a realization that I had as a result of that is I really need to be in a ground-bound foundation home somewhere, at least part of the time. I need a base because I lost my base. And so my husband and I, John, we're thinking that we want to buy property in Dallas and build a straw bale home of about 400 square feet, which would be a mansion. And we hope to host other tiny houses with us. So we're in search of that perfect piece of property to do that on.
I think that's a great idea, incidentally.
I think so. Thank you. Thank you.
There's nothing better than an edible house.
Terry's a great example for us.
I think a straw bale house is a great idea in this area. It really is, and it really is the coming thing. We're going to take a quick break. It's the bottom of the hour. We're going to listen to a little news, make some money. When we come back, more of Tiny Houses. You're listening to Your Home with Alex Guthrie. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. So every time you look out your windows, the world looks a little foggy. Does it sound like the crickets are in the house? You need to keep the outside out and the inside in. Alex Guthrie here for my friends Window Traditions, where I buy Sierra Pacific windows. You want a fully transferable glass warranty? Sierra Pacific Windows has it. You want the highest quality sun protection? Sierra Pacific Windows offers it. Family owned for 4 generations, Sierra Pacific Windows is here to stay. And not just anybody gets my business when it comes to windows and doors. That's why I call Window Traditions for sales and installation. 214-357-3100. That's 214-357-3100. Sierra Pacific Windows and Window Traditions. 214-357-3100. Or visit their website at wtraditions.com for the very best view of the Lone Star State.
You have to sell your gorgeous but suddenly unaffordable house. Now, who will buy it? These guys buy. You have to sell your mom and dad's old rundown house. Now, who will buy it? These guys buy. You have to sell your crazy Aunt Zelda's house. You know, the one with all the cats. These guys buy. Taj Mahal? These guys buy. Old musty dump? These guys buy. Just plain ugly? These guys buy. Sell your property now. As is. No fees, no repairs, no waiting. TheseGuysBuy.com. TheseGuysBuy.com. TheseGuysBuy.com.
This is Bristol. Let's get ready to rumble.
It's the Food City 500.
Kyle Larson ties to the bottom of the racetrack, forces Austin Dillon up a group. They're side by side in 2.
Here's Larson powering out of turn 4 on the outside. Can't do it. Truex will lead that lap.
Jimmy Johnson just blasts off of turn 2 and takes that lead away.
The Food City 500, Sunday, April 15th at 12 noon.
It's the Food City 500 live from Bristol tomorrow on 1160 AM KBDT.
Welcome back to Your Home with Alex Guthrie. We are talking tiny homes. And we're running out of time. We got a lot to cover. I'm here with my very good friend, B.A.Norgard, Terry Lantrip. Dang it, I'm having a bad day with names. Bad day. I'll just call you something else. TL. How's that?
There you go.
TL. I'll call him BA, UTL, whatever. So you tell me where are you on this development, and when are we going to see some dirt flying? What's up with that?
Okay, so once we got the approval back in October, we went to work with the engineering and getting all the plans made. We have to do all kinds of plumbing, electrical, site plan. We have to do the drainage and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That took 4 months. That's been turned in. That was turned in a couple of weeks ago. So now it's in the city's it's in their court, and it's a wait and see situation. Next Tuesday we have a replat. This is actually 2 lots. We have to get into one. That was turned in December, and we still don't have that done. And then we just have to wait to see what the city.
But essentially, the idea has been accepted, and the city planners are like, okay, Terry, we're good.
Right. We have a planned development ordinance, and we had to work on that for months, probably 6 months to 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
To try to figure out how to put everything together and what it's going to be when it's finished, and it goes into specifics.
And what were the challenges that they were presenting you with? Was it the type of home, or what is it that they were really having to get over? Because I know it's challenging for any city to bring a development like this in, or to allow it, because of the developments that they don't want.
Right. In the early stages, we really didn't know how to do this. We didn't know how that small homes, tiny homes would fit in. Every city has their code books, International Residential Code. And so we were just trying to figure out how we're starting from scratch, trying to figure out how this is going to work. Well, while we were doing our part over here, there was a group, including BA and some others that were working with the International Residential Code and actually showed up to the International Residential Code, and B.A. can talk more about that. And they came up with an appendix to the IRC that was specifically for tiny homes. Now, the tiny homes that they were targeting were ones that were already site built, but we just used that as our basis. So during this whole process, we were able to say, okay, here it is. This is the appendix. This tells us what we need to do to make the homes compatible with the city rules and regulations. So you have the RC, it tells you what kind of house you can build, and the appendix says, okay, the tiny home's not going to fit with the rules that they have now. So here are some adjustments that can be made in order for a home to be safe, and that was the main issue.
Safety.
You want a safety factor in all of the homes.
So when we're talking about site built, we're talking about without wheels. We're talking about one that's built more permanent.
Right.
It's more about the square footage.
Right. Since that was what they used at the IRC, we went ahead and used that as our basis, even though the homes that will be there will be on wheels.
Mm-hmm.
It was the closest thing that we could get to rules that make sense and make it so that it's easier for us to understand and work together.
So it was less about aesthetics and more safety, or was it both?
More safety factors. Aesthetics was not really a factor in that. Each home is very different, and we really wanted that, especially in our community. We wanted each home to be a reflection of the person that lives there.
Right.
So when they bring in their home, it's going to be their home in the way they want it.
Especially if they build it just like yours is, B.A. Yours is a reflection of you.
That's the great thing about tiny houses.
Yeah.
They are so personalized and individualized.
Right. So tell me about your experience with changing the IRC and going through that process. You helped.
So that was led.
That's a big deal.
It was a fun thing to be a part of and to be asked to be a part of. Andrew Morrison led that fight, and you can read more on his blog at tinyhousebuild.com. The section that we got admitted as an optional adoption part of the residential building code is called Appendix Q. And as Terry said, it is applicable to tiny houses on foundation, not on wheels. On wheels portion is coming, we hope. It's a long road. We were very fortunate to get it passed so quickly, or admitted into the code so quickly. But the best place to read about that is over on tinyhousebuild.com.
And what is it applied? What is it applying to? It's applying to the
homes with a smaller square footage.
I see.
Making sure that they're safe.
Making sure they're safe, and this is like a fire code or something.
It's the residential building code, so it's egress, it's loft height, it's loft access, all of those things that go towards safety for living in a home.
I'll tell you, getting your footprint in that door or getting your foot in that door is not an easy task.
It was quite a process.
I bet it was
very interesting to observe that process.
So you were probably having to deal with, building professionals and, inspectors from around all these people that
we did. And then to sit through all of the portions of that weekend of hearing to get to our section was very illuminating.
I'll bet it was.
The fire code portion was in there, and it was very interesting. It was quite a learning curve.
I bet it was. So there's a certain lifestyle to tiny home living. There's a community.
It's all about the people. The house is a vehicle, but it's all about the people, really.
And so when you're talking about tiny, you and I kind of talked about it briefly, but I know that where I stay, like in the weekends, and it's an RV park, and it's a community. It's a small place. There's some people that live there full time. There's some people that don't. But we all know each other, and we all are together a certain amount, a few days a week or whatever. And but the tiny home community sounds like Terry told me that when you were having your meetings, that everybody showed up from BA's folks.
They did.
It's a very closely knit community. You know, when HGTV was in town doing some filming, and they were telling us, "Oh, we're also going to film so and so and so and so," and all of us knew each other, and HGTV was so blown away by that. It's like, "Oh, you know them?" Like, yes, we know them. We all, and now the community has, and the movement has grown so much so quickly. Now it is hard to know everybody, but you know, a few years back, you pretty much did know everybody because there weren't that many, and you really banded together over having to be resourceful. And that's one of the things that I love most about it, is that it is such a closely knit community, and people show up for you. It's really neat.
So you've spent some time, or apparently quite a bit of time, on the West Coast in your tiny home.
I have, yes.
And there's more there's more of an infill. I mean, they're having to fill in cities that can't grow.
Yes. Portland is a great example of
Portland's
that.
a great example. Okay. Tell me that story.
So Portland has a housing crisis. They don't have enough housing for the amount of people that are living within their city limits. And so they have now quit enforcing the code of evicting you, or enforcing the code that says you can't have an accessory dwelling unit, ADUs. And they now are welcoming, they kind of just giving the wink and the nod and saying, it's okay, we're going to allow you to do that in your backyard because we have such a housing crisis. And Washington State just came out with a very similar proclamation, if I can use that term loosely, but they also are choosing not to enforce the code that makes tiny homes in backyards illegal.
That's really interesting.
It's a big step. It's awesome.
Well, though, like Portland's sort of landlocked, and for years they've had this issue. I always thought that it was mandated. I just thought they didn't want to grow until I went up there and I saw
see how crowded it is.
How crowded it is, and that it's kind of landlocked by rivers, and they can't really grow, and it's expensive, and there's a lot of reasons that they couldn't grow. And so I see this as, and I know that in our area in Dallas is built out. And so all we have left is infill. And I have friends that are building small developments infilling and building small developments. And a lot of what we're doing is real high efficiency, high performance housing in these small developments, and that's a lot of what the tiny homes are as well. Yours is super high performance.
Most of them are almost. I like 98% of them. I would think would fall into that category because they are so energy efficient and very low consumption of the energy that they use. So
you, when you're doing your development, do you take all that into account?
Right. We're going to be using a lot less utilities because they simply don't use that many as much as a typical home. Also, we're going to be hoping some of them will use solar. I don't know much about solar, but I'm really excited about seeing people using solar in the community. And we're just excited about learning about those kind of things. We'll have a recycling center. Recycling is mandatory. Not that it's going to be a problem with people who live in tiny homes. They're going to be
in theory, they would have a lot less stuff anyway.
Absolutely,
a lot less trash and waste.
Absolutely,
yeah. And I have a friend that's doing a small development, and they're doing rainwater collection, and they can actually supply the entire development their landscaping water needs with the water in theory that they'll collect. And so it just seems like we're sort of, our whole attitude is more and more geared towards this type of development.
Just living lightly.
Live more lightly. And I love the idea of the smaller footprint, and I love the idea that people are becoming more community oriented, and I think we're doing that. And I think these are the type of developments, the type of things that we're going to have to do that. And the thing with the tiny home is it tiny house or tiny home? Does it matter? Is there a preferred?
I don't think it matters unless you are, for example, the exhibit that we're having next week at Fair Park. We're calling that a tiny home instead of tiny house because we also have schoolies and vans coming. And so home is a more inclusive term for that.
Okay.
But they're very similar.
Let's talk about that. I wanted to talk about that today. Tell us about are you in charge of this?
The village exhibit portion of it, I am. Super excited to be invited back to EarthX. This is my 5th year exhibiting there. It's my 3rd year of bringing a village. So this year we're having 13 homes, and they're all built by do-it-yourselfers. We have 9 homes, 2 schoolies, and 2 vans.
2 schoolies?
Converted school buses.
Oh.
And if you have never seen a schoolie, it will blow your socks off what can be done inside a bus. Really
I've only read about it.
So innovative, really and beautifully done. So really excited. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10 to 6.
And these are all occupied? These are the people that live in them that are bringing them?
They are full-time residences, and they are occupied by the people that finished them out or built them.
So you're going to just go live there for those 3 days?
Yeah, we're actually there a few days longer than that because we have to get in before the other exhibits. Sure. But yeah, it's going to be a pop-up village, and we're going to be having group dinners at night.
How fun.
Home literally will be where you park it this weekend, or a week from now, I should say. So we will be living at Fair Park.
That will be fun.
It's a highlight. I look forward to it every year. So.
And you generally have lines. It's a huge attraction.
It is, and we are learning over the years to manage those lines better. We really had it drummed home to us. In 2016, we had 9.5 houses and gave 38,000 tours in 2.5 days.
Oh my gosh.
So we're learning to do it better each year.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be wrapping up. This has been so much fun. You're listening to Your Home with Alex Guthrie. We're talking tiny homes. Stay with us. Don't go away. We'll be right back. So every time you look out your windows, the world looks a little foggy. Does it sound like the crickets are in the house? You need to keep the outside out and the inside in. Alex Guthrie here for my friends Window Traditions, where I buy Sierra Pacific windows. You want a fully transferable glass warranty? Sierra Pacific Windows has it. You want the highest quality sun protection? Sierra Pacific Windows offers it. Family owned for 4 generations, Sierra Pacific Windows is here to stay. And not just anybody gets my business when it comes to windows and doors. That's why I call Window Traditions for sales and installation. 214-357-3100. That's 214-357-3100. Sierra Pacific Windows and Window Traditions. 214-357-3100. Or visit their website at wtraditions.com for the very best view of the Lone Star State.
1160 AM, KBDT proudly presents this historic salute to Grapevine, Texas. Brought to you by Grapevine Power Sports. In 1889, the J.E. Faust store opens on Main Street. It's now Grapevine's oldest remaining brick building. Eggs sell for 10 cents per dozen. Butter is 20 cents per pound. And chickens are $2.50 a dozen.
I'm Aaron McWhorter with Grapevine Power Sports. When I bought the dealership, I came in to buy a four-wheeler. They were a freestanding Kawasaki dealership, and I said, Dennis, I don't mean to pry. Are you interested in selling this place? And he said, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but we're fixing to put it on the market. And I said, Dennis, I'll take it. In the last 3 years, we've done 60% increase. The mayor's a customer of mine. The city manager is a customer of mine. A lot of friends that live here still. The small town feel right in the middle of the big metroplex.
Grapevine, Texas, a world festival and event city. Find out more about Grapevine by going to www.grapevinetexas.gov. Step back in time. Visit historic Grapevine, Texas today.
When I say Italy, what comes to mind?
Venice. Capri. Oh my gosh, Capri was marvelous.
The views, the cliffside views, or traveling to Sorrento. Pirello tours.
Oh, Pirello tours, for sure.
Pirello.
Hi, I'm Steve Perillo of Perillo Tours. With over 70 years of tour experience to Italy, it's no wonder Perillo Tours is synonymous with travel to Italy.
I think of the culture and to walk up to certain areas and touch a wall and think, well, this wall's like 3,000 years old.
Being on a Perillo tour on our anniversary was better than anything I can remember ever on an anniversary.
I personally approve every itinerary to ensure a stress-free, once-in-a-lifetime vacation.
Salute! Call now for your free insider's guide to Perillo's Italy. Call in the next 30 minutes and qualify for a $100 gift card when you travel with us. Call 800-547-6018. 800-547-6018. 800-547-6018.
Welcome back to Your Home with Alex Guthrie. This has been so much fun.
It's really fun.
I always enjoy being with you. You guys are great.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Tiny House Tribe.
The Tiny House Tribe. Well, you know, I'm really excited about seeing lots of tiny houses. I'm going to have to go and kind of experience that. I did some research, like I keep saying, on the internet, but it's not the same.
It's not the same as being in one.
No, and kind of the way that yours is, where you have all these. Now I have, like I say, I've got my little RV, and I have my little everything kind of compacted in there. Now, you know, that an RV guy like me, a weekender, you take all the leftover old frying pans and all of the mismatched silverware and Tupperware and throw it in a box, and you take it down there, and that's where it ends up. It's like the cemetery of old kitchen stuff, right?
And a tiny house is the reverse. You pick all of your favorite things, and that's the only things that remain. And so every morning I wake up surrounded by only my most favorite things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's right. That's how it ought to be.
It is how it is.
And I keep telling my wife, you know, I could live with one fork, one spoon, and one knife, and one plate.
Makes dishwashing go much faster.
I don't do dishwashers. I hate them. Seriously.
But, you know, if you have 12 coffee cups, when are you going to wash them? When the 12th one is dirty.
Who needs?
Just have one, wash it, put it on the counter, read